Okay. Hello, everyone. I will just let us filter in. Hey. So, hello, everyone. 20 participants so far. Perfect. I'll let everyone filter in as I introduce myself. Just say a quick hello to everyone. So, hello. Thank you for joining us this evening. My name is Josh Donner. I'm a regional teacher trainer with Macmillan Education. And there we are. Some hellos. Thank you. Hello, hello. If we could just start off, we can share where we're joining from tonight and how's the weather there today. The reason I start with the weather is because I'm personally coming from Ho Chi Minh City in Vietnam, and I can only describe the weather as oppressively hot. So anyone else here from Ho Chi Minh City, we're really praying for rain. Um, Funny thing, originally I'm from Canada, so we would spend every year hoping that winter was ending. But now we're hoping that this heat finally gives us some respite. But yeah, if you could just share where you are from. Hello, everyone. I see hello from Thailand, hello from the Philippines, a few people joining from Vietnam. I'll let some more people filter in. No. Hello, hello. Oh, definitely. Yeah, I can relate, Christel. It is brutal. We need some relief. Hello from Bali. Oh, beautiful. Okay, and hopefully, we have some more people joining from different places. In the meantime, let me start off by welcoming you to the first of our 2026 seasonal webinars. Um, Here today, we will talk about where challenges meet solutions, inclusion in action, and that will be delivered by my colleague, Super. I'll introduce Super and the webinar of today a little bit more, but to start, I would like to talk to you a little bit about teaching challenges. So this webinar is informed by our survey feedback and data that we've collected over the last 2 years from various teacher trainings. So to that point, your feedback is very important, not just for evaluating for ourselves how we're doing in training and professional development, but it also helps for us to determine where is the need, what sorts of trainings should we hold, what sorts of webinars should we hold. So if in the chat, if I could ask you to share what's one challenge that you have experienced or confronted in your teaching. It can be as broad or as specific as you want. Anything from time management or student management. I don't want to share, too many suggestions because I will share the ones that we ended up with, 5 teaching gaps that we have collected over all of these 2 years of data. So in the chat, if you want to share any teaching challenges that you have experienced, I'll give you some time to mull that over. And also, if you just want to also share where you're joining us from and still share about the weather, that's lovely too. Oh, we could use a little bit of balminess here, absolutely. Well, as we mull over those teaching challenges that we've experienced, let me share with you what we have collected from the data, although I won't do it too quickly, just in case some of us do think of something that hasn't been brought up yet. And so the first one that we've noticed in the data is a time and resource gap. So as a teacher myself, hello to you from Thailand. Welcome. Again, we can keep filtering in. Share where you're joining from if you've just joined us. And we are just going over the teaching gaps that we've identified. So our first one, thank you. The first one is our time and resource gap. So I'm sure that as a teacher, you've experienced in some way time pressure, whether it's in the class or for preparedness, and resources. Of course, nobody has all of the resources that they would want in a classroom. Absolutely. And then the next one, skills and language gap. So this could apply to a gap within a classroom, like a very broad gap of ability for the students, or that language gap between teacher and students. So that's another one that's come up from our research. And again, if you've just joined us, if you want to share any teaching challenges that you've had, again, it's very important for us to gather your feedback. And so that's why your feedback really matters. We will also give a lot of opportunities for you to share your feedback, both on today's presentation and on the next one. Also, the large mixed ability classroom gap. So I won't speak too much about my own webinar, which is on Wednesday yet, but this is another one that has come up a lot. If you have many, many students and they span a wide range of skill levels or different learner types, that's definitely a challenge to be approached by teachers. Next one, of course, is the motivation and engagement gap, particularly with young learners. Keeping them motivated and engaged in the material is something that I think all teachers can relate to. And finally, the confidence and exam success gap. Sorry, exam success anxiety gap, my apologies. So building up and fostering that student confidence, which will then kind of lead into them having that confidence for exams and hopefully quelling that anxiety for exams. So again, just to remind you, these gaps are gathered from our own research through Macmillan and through your teacher surveys. And yes, if you have a question or anything, I see the raised hand. Hello. Oh, hello, welcome from Cambodia. And if you have any questions during the presentation, you can feel free to add them into the chat or to the question and answer. Dolores will be cataloging all of our questions for the end of the session, where we will, of course, address any questions or comments that you had from the presentation. So let me talk a little bit about our seasonal webinars this season. Spring, a time for renewal, a time for growth. Hello to Soviet from Pakistan. Very nice to see us joining from many regions. Very exciting. And so today's lecture, which I'll talk a little bit more about, is solving the reality gap in early learner classrooms. So Super will focus in on that today. And then on Wednesday will be a webinar by yours truly. And we will be talking specifically about mixed ability classes and how to manage those with confidence. So touching on design principles and differentiated instruction and ways to make those classes kind of work for you and have the students support each other. So that's an overview of our 2 spring seasonal webinars. And I'm so grateful to you for joining us tonight. And also, if I could ask you, if you haven't followed us yet, please follow us on social media. That's where we share information about our webinars. We also share teaching tips and little educational tidbits for you. So please follow us on social media. We have our 3 links here from Facebook, WeChat, and RedNote. Hello, hello, welcome. I'm also in Vietnam. So those of us in Vietnam, hello. If we missed the early introductions, I am in Ho Chi Minh City myself, where I'm sure if you're down here too, you will agree it is very hot these days. Oh, hello from Jakarta. I was just in Jakarta. So if you are in the chat somewhere and I saw you last week, give me a quick wave. On to the next slide, though. So we will be sending out certificates of attendance for these webinars to you if you've participated. I mean, if you're here, then you'll get one, of course. So one for Super's webinar today, and then if you join my webinar on Wednesday, another one, just to show you our appreciation, but also to show that you were here for this professional learning opportunity. This will also feature a little kind of grab bag of goodies. We'll have a recording as well as teaching resources that were referenced in our webinars. So I've talked for a little bit in the introduction. Without further ado, I would like to introduce today's webinar, Solving the Reality Gap in Early Learner Classrooms. And you may see that common word, the gap. Another way to think of teaching challenges is a gap that we have to kind of bridge. And that's what Super will be focusing on, specifically with the early learners today. So I will hand it over to Super. Oh, of course I can. Just addressing the chat. Sorry, Super, I'm just going the previous
No
slide.
problem.
Pulling on, which one were we at? The certificate one? I'll go back to both of them in case you were looking for the links to join. There they are again. And sorry, Super, to cut you off there, but hello.
Yeah, no problem. So just welcome to follow us on Facebook, WeChat, and RedNote. Yeah, we're very glad to see you there as well. We will update all the academic events there as well. So follow us. You will be updated with all the upcoming sessions or academic materials, resources. So feel free.
Perfect. So
Yes,
I will turn the screen over to you. The floor is yours, and I will be
yes.
watching intently. Really looking
Thank you
forward
very
to it.
much. Yeah, thank you for the introduction, Josh. And hello, everyone. I'm really happy to see you today in the seasonal webinar from Macmillan Education. So, as Josh has introduced, I'm going to have the first session about solving the reality gap in early learner classrooms. So let me know in the chat, yeah, if you have uh, your hands available to type in the chat. Feel free to let me know what age group are you teaching right now. Are you teaching the young learners? Are you teaching the very young learners? Yeah, let me know the age group of your students if you can type in the chat and feel free to share your experience. Age 4 to 5. Wow, that's the right. Yeah, young learner, early learners. Also, we have got 10 to 16, 10 to 12, kindergarten and primary. Yes, thank you very much for sharing. From 4 to 15. Wow, that's a very wide range of age of group of students to teach. So you need to have different skills to balance the 4 with the 15, right? You must know how different they are. Yeah, and how different approaches you're going to use to teach the 4 years old versus the 15 years olds. And I see some teachers are teaching teenagers and adults as well. Yeah, if you're teaching slightly older age groups, yeah, today we're going to focus on slightly younger ones, but I think there are some things you can take away as well because it's about classroom management. It's about how to establish the connections with your students and how you can manage the energy levels with like a large group of students. So there are something in common, something you can take away as well. Okay, very good. Thank you very much for sharing. And yeah, let's get started with the session really quickly with some questions, okay? So here, are two pictures of the classroom, of the young learners' classroom, like mainly. As you can see, sometimes if we imagine a well organized, like well managed young learners classroom, it's probably something like this on this page, on this photo. We can see it's a slightly small group, right? We don't have a very large group of students. The students are very proactive. They are very active to raise their hands and answer the questions from the teachers, and everybody's quite like having fun and the smiling. But the reality could be a little bit brutal sometimes. Yeah. So it could be times when we get a classroom like this. Yeah, I have asked the AI to create this photo for me, but I'm not sure if you have encountered any like classrooms like this or not. Yeah, if it's a yes, yeah, put your hands up. Oh, I see a thumb up. Okay, so there are teachers who have got classrooms like this. Sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes we could, yeah, have like kids running, right? Things messed up on the ground, and not like many of them are listening to the teacher's instructions or commands. The energy level is really, really high, and they just can't stop. Yeah, sometimes. So it could happen. So we have our expected wonderful, ideal classrooms for the early young learners, but it's not always the case. We will have times to deal with chaotic classrooms. We have times to manage the students' like energy, try to calm them down. And we really need to, yeah, think about what tools or strategies we have to manage this type of classroom and make sure the learning is happening at the same time to make sure you are like you're actually taking the lesson plan forward and you're going with your goals. The objectives are met, the learning objectives are met, the students are making progress. Yeah, so that's something we're going to discuss today. So there are gaps, but we can find ways and tools and strategies to fill the gap and make our lessons or our classes more effective and yeah, improve the experience, both the teacher's experience and the student's experience. Okay, very good. So I have got two questions for you actually at the beginning. So the first question would be three adjectives to describe your young learner's classroom. So you can go to this Mentimeter. You can go to this mentimeter.com and or scan this QR code here on the screen or just type mentimeter.com, use the code on the screen, and then you will be able to answer the questions. So let me share the screen with you here. Okay. So you should be able to scan this QR code and input three adjectives to the poll. Monkeys in the surgery. Yeah, sometimes, right? Exhausting. Dynamic, energetic. I'm really happy to see positive words as well. It's not only the negative ones, right? We also got really, really good energy, very dynamic, very energetic, but at the same time could be a little bit exhausting. We also have got polite. Wow, so your kids are very well behaving, right? If they're very polite. We also have got curious. Yes, curiosity is always like the biggest, I think the biggest part of a kid. So they are naturally curious about what they're going to learn. They are very motivated to know the world. Yeah, so that's the positive part. We also have got talkative. Yeah, young kids are very talkative. They are in the stage that they are learning the language really quickly. They are very happy to share, and they are also very lovely. Yes, but sometimes a little bit noisy. Yeah, that's the pros and cons at the same time. That's the like two sides of the coins, right? Always very active, but sometimes a little bit noisy. We also have got active. Yeah, we've got spontaneous. Yeah, it could be a little bit unexpected, right? Sometimes we can't really expect everything. We don't plan a lesson plan and do everything on the lesson plan. There is always something spontaneous. There will always something like you don't expect, but you need to handle it and deal with it. Yes. So I think, yeah, it's really, really nice to see this word cloud. And thank you for sharing as well. We also have got um, in chatty, happy, walking around, naughty, clever, inspired, funny, always playing, fast pacing, hardworking. Thank you very much for sharing all these adjectives because I think it's, yeah, sometimes it's really, really fun. It's really, really good energy to have a group of young learners in your classroom. They will always be there to learn. They have really, really good energy. But sometimes managing it could be a little bit exhausting or a little bit tiring for the teacher. But it's good to see a lot of positive adjectives as well. So thank you very much for sharing the three adjectives to describe your young learner's classroom. And then the next question would be the gaps. So we have talked about the general experience, right? Now I would like you to share what is the biggest reality gap or reality gaps. Probably it's not only like one, it could be like all of them. I've put them into four categories regarding the time, regarding the energy, regarding the behavior management, and also the mixed ability in the classroom. So feel free to submit your answers. Yeah, you can choose either one or two or three. Yeah, gaps that you face in your young learner's classroom. What is the reality gap? If you have a lesson plan at hand and you walk into a pre-primary classroom, you have a group of maybe 5 to 6 years old. If you can't finish the lesson plan, if you can't do everything on the lesson plan, what is the gap or what are the gaps? So let me know. Okay, we can see the behavior and the mixed ability is actually taking a very high percentage. Energy is relatively okay. Oh, that's great here. Not always. Energies, you do have activities to match the learner's energy levels, which is good. Timing could sometimes be a problem as well. Sometimes lessons takes much longer than expected, but sometimes some activities maybe don't work with the group of students, so it takes shorter than we expect, and you need to come up with some other activities like spontaneously to fill up the time. Yeah, it could be okay. Mixed ability at the moment has ranked number one. So you do have like different maybe ages, different abilities, different language levels of students in one class. That happens a lot in the young learners classroom because when kids come to the classroom, they usually come with different experience, right? They probably have learned some English at home with their parents by watching some animations or by reading some readers, but some of them could be completely like a beginner. They have not heard about English at all. They don't even know A, B, C, D, E, F, G. They have to start from scratch. So there could be a lot of different levels of students in the classroom, which can be a very big challenge. Okay, so behavior management ranked number two. Yeah, so teachers need to teach at the same time to do the classroom management, to manage the behaviors, especially because for this age group, they are not ready for formal schooling. They are actually at the early stage of schooling, right? They don't know the principles or they don't know the rules. They really need to be supported by the teachers to behave right in the classroom. So we need to train them. We need to really establish the routines, establish the rules for them to follow and get used to, and then gradually moving to a well-managed class. And also timing is always a big key as a big challenge gap as well. And the last one would be energy. Okay. And in the chat, I can see teacher said motivation could be another challenge. Yes, it could be motivation can go into the energy as well because sometimes students, if they don't want to learn, they will not be active. They don't want to participate. Yeah. sometimes they don't want to cooperate. Yeah, that's about motivation as well. And the learning outcomes, yeah, how can we measure the learning outcome could be another thing. Yeah. Time management, class size, yeah, very good. Very good points to make. So thank you very much for sharing your insights. It's going to help us with the next part as well. So with all these answers from you, we're going to dive into today's session. So let me uh, briefly go through these four gaps again before we move on to the next part. So we've talked about the timing. Yeah, sometimes it takes longer, sometimes it takes shorter than we think. So we need to be very flexible. Yeah, teachers don't really have to follow a very like rigid or very fixed timing schedule for this age group. We need to be really flexible. We need to have backup like activities. We need to have some flexibility there to make sure the lesson plan is gonna work. We also need to balance different energy levels. Considering the engagement and also motivation, we need to have the right energy level for different activities. And in that way, the students can have fun at the same time they can learn as well. Also, the behaviors is a big part because the students are not ready. We need to train them. We need to establish all these rules and routines. And also thinking about the different abilities, different levels of language in the classroom. So we need to think about how to support different levels as well. So these are the four like gaps teachers will usually have, but also there might be some other gaps where we can put into these four categories or create more categories. But these are the common ones we can see for very young learners and the young learners. Okay, so with this in mind, we're going to go through the session like this. So first of all, we have talked about the reality gaps, right? We have collected your feedback. We have put them into four categories right now, and you have added more in the chat. And next, we're going to diagnose the gaps. We are going to think about the gaps, to analyze the gaps, and to find out what's behind the gaps. What are the causes of the gaps? And then we move on to find solutions. So, uh, in the third part, we're going to explore some exclusive management skills, strategies, and tools, which are the solutions to bridge the gap and to solve these problems and to find opportunities to make the classroom better. And after that, I will introduce you a practical toolkit, which is a product from Macmillan Education for very young learners. I will show you some examples from this product from Macmillan Education, and you will see how publishers like us, like Macmillan Education, have designed pre-primary courses to support and bridge these gaps to make the teacher's life easier and to support the very young learners to thrive in the classroom. Okay, so that's the agenda for me. And at the end, we will have some time for Q&A as well. So feel free to submit your questions. Yeah, and we will come back to the questions at the end. Okay, so now let's move on to the next part, which is the diagnose the gaps. So we have talked about the gaps. We have put them into several like categories. Now let's think about what's behind the gaps, how we could find maybe the key information about these gaps, then we can find the right solutions to bridge these gaps. Okay, and I know some teachers are watching live streaming on Facebook or on WeChat. If you want to talk to us, you can scan this QR code to submit your information and your feedback with us so that we can hear from you as well. So your feedback really matters. So I will remind you from time to time. I know some teachers watching the broadcasting have not got like the registration yet. If you want to receive like a certificate, or if you want to receive the goodie bag from us after the session, you can submit your feedback using this QR code, and then we will send you the right like information after the session with you. Okay, so let's move on to the next part, which is the diagnose the gaps. So with these four gaps in mind, let's think about them one by one. Okay, let's analyze them together, and I will ask you some questions. You are going to share your ideas as well together, okay, to analyze all these gaps together to find out what's behind, what is causing all these gaps. Okay, so the first question would be, sorry, before we jump into the first question, I would like to remind you about the mindset changing. So we are adults, right? We are all very mature adult teachers. We are very well behaving like adults. So if we make a lesson plan, we use our like mature lesson planning skills as a teacher to have very logical and sensible like procedures, but there is a mismatch from these like lesson plans with the actual like biological reality of the young learner's brain. So we cannot use our adult expectations to like expect this age group to follow and do everything we want in the lesson plan. So there is a natural gap. So what we need to do is we need to make sure we are aware this mismatch between our expectations with this age groups like actual reality. They are not ready to follow adults like lesson plans. So we need to match our lesson plans to them. So that is the fundamental way to change this mismatch. We need to match to the young learners' needs and their reality of their biological like brains and bodies. So what we can do is we match to them. We don't expect them to match ours, okay? So this is the fundamental rule before we move on to the first question. So what we're going to do is to redefine the gap. We don't see them as a gap now. Starting from now, we are going to see the gap as a signal. So we don't stop there. We don't stop identifying a gap. We move on to look at what signal we have got from this gap and analyze it. Okay, so let's do the analysis together. The first one is when students refuse to speak English and only use their native language, what is the barrier? What do you think about this behavior? They don't want to speak English. They just want to speak their native language. What do you think is the gap? What do you think the signal you have got from this behavior? They feel shy? Yes, because they're not confident. They don't feel comfortable speaking a foreign language because they just got to know the language, right? They don't feel comfortable. They're shy. Yeah. And sometimes they just don't know how to speak the language, right? So it could be a language barrier. Yes, right. They can't speak fluently. They don't know the language. They're scared of being corrected. High emotional risk. Yes. So they're not familiar with maybe the group. They are not familiar with the teacher. They don't feel safe, right? They have this kind of like secure the security level, the emotional risk is really high. Yep. Maybe they do not have vocabulary to express their thoughts. Exactly. So we can see usually what this like a gap tells us is there is a linguistic gap, right? But at the same time, it could be the environment as well. They don't feel secure. They don't feel comfortable enough with the group, with the peers, with the teacher. They don't feel like speaking English at the moment. Yeah, when the current level is lower than the targeted level, yeah, the language level is not there yet. Afraid of making mistakes, yes. So what we need to think about the signal is, okay, the language is not ready yet. We need to help them with the words, the vocab, or the sentence, or the environment is not comfortable or secure enough for them to try something new or try to speak to others. So what we can do is probably ask them to use their bodies first. We don't like ask them to speak We just ask them to point, or we ask them to express themselves using the gestures, using signs, or using colors. Yeah, we can try different ways to ask them to participate, right? They don't feel free to speak English at the moment. Okay. So very good like analysis. And the next question, let's take a look at it. When a child constantly interrupts you or makes funny noises to make the class laugh, what are they actually asking for? That's a very common thing, common like a situation we might see in a classroom, right? Especially in the young learners classroom. Some young children are always like making noises or trying to attract for attention. Yes, I see the keyword there. They feel bored. Yes, they're not interested in the content, right? They feel bored. They are seeking attention from teachers, yes, or from maybe from the classroom, from the class, from their peers. They're seeking for attention. Yes. So the signal we can get here is okay, my content is not interesting enough to attract these kids' attention, or these kids are simply not like simply don't care about the content. They just care about maybe the social and emotional interaction with the teacher or with the peers, with their friends, with their classmates. Yeah, talking randomly to their table mate. Yes, they value maybe the social interaction more over the class content or the lesson content. They're seeking for attention, connection, and significance. They want to be heard, they want to be seen, they want to be valued by the teacher or by the classroom. So we can see there is actually an emotional misalignment there. Sometimes it could be the content like a misalignment as well because the content is not maybe interesting enough or the cognition level is not right. They feel bored because they don't understand what the teacher is talking about. Like the content is above their level or it's like below, much below their level. So there is a mismatch or misalignment between the content with the student's cognition. Or it could be simply the emotional misalignment. The students just don't care about the content. They just want to interact with people. They value the interaction with people more because it's a very common thing for young learners. At this time of the very young learners, they are actually not in a formal school that, right? They are in a pre-primary kindergarten or they're in a maybe nursery school. This kind of environment is not a formal schooling's like environment. They they are in a small society where they first like met. Like this is the first time for these age groups to have a small society, right? Before that, they only interact with their parents, their caregivers. But when they enter the preschool or the nursery school or kindergarten, this is like the first society they have got. They are really like into the relationships with these peers or with the teacher. So it's actually a very social process for students to learn as well. It's not only about learning content. Learning is just part of the life in the school. The social like interaction with their peers is another big part of their learning and the life in the classroom. So we really need to embrace that. Yeah, the social natural of learning, the social interaction is part of the learning as well. We can't just like say, no, please don't talk. Please, yeah, stay focused. That's not the right, maybe, nature of learning for this age group. They really need to have that interaction. This is not like a misbehavior. They whisper, they share, they pass notes to each other, or even like making fun of each other. Yeah. So when they are politely asked to share what they talk about, they refuse. So, you mean when you have tried to ask them to share what they are talking about with their peers, but they will refuse? Then maybe they are still trying to keep that conversation private, to to their peers instead of the teacher. So yeah, it could happen as well. So, but we need to think about it. This is the need of this learning process. It's not something like we tag as misbehaviors. It's actually should be there, and we need to manage it and sometimes support it as well. And then the next question, when the whole class seems wired and chaotic right after break or a fun game, what does the body need? Yeah, so this is another very common situation we might have encountered in the classroom. So after playing a game or after a break, the kids are still very active. They're not really ready to sit down and focus. So what does their body need? So we need to analyze what's behind, right? So the body needs some energy, so they still have got more energy, right? So they are they're still moving. Yeah, they're not quite they haven't come down yet. Some sort of play. Yep, the body actually needs to be de-energized. Yes, that's a very good point. So when we stop them from a break or from a fun game, we need to have a cooling down, like a transition. Yeah, we can't just stop there. Okay, stop, sit down, now quiet. It's not going to work, right? We need to have a slowing, like a cooling down, like a procedure process. Yeah, we need some cooling down activities, right? That's right, Naomi. Yeah. So actually, the signal behind this is there is some energy misalignment here. They have got energy. They don't have a break to stop, right? So we need, as teachers, we need to like they do need the teachers' co-regulation from us to help them to cool down slightly instead of like just a command. Like we need to have this kind of transition routine, yeah, to let them have the oxygen and then come down a little bit. So we need to think about how we can do the transition, what kind of routines will work when we stop from a break or from a fun game. We need to move on to a story then. Okay, well, what can we do in between? Okay, we will think about that. And then the last question, when two students fight over a toy, a pencil, or who gets to answer first, what skill is missing? Yeah, conflicts comes here, right? So we have got a lot of conflicts. Yeah, kids will fight with each other. They will sometimes fight for some really, really small things, right? So they need negotiation. Yes, they need to learn to compromise. Yes. So the skills here are actually some social and emotional skills. Yeah. So when we look at the fighting, we see the kids don't have the skills or the ways to negotiate needs, to communicate needs, to settle down conflicts. Yeah, they don't have these skills. So we need to prepare them with these skills and help them to develop these skills. Okay. So we need to address the social and emotional gap here. Very good. So we have analyzed, yeah, these gaps, right? We have looked behind these different kinds of gaps. Now we can see there are some common gaps, like causes for some common gaps. So the common originality or the gaps are usually stemming from the energy misalignment. Yeah, when their energy is high, we ask them to stop. So that's an energy misalignment. We need to make sure there is a transition from high energy to low energy. So the misalignment should be addressed. Yeah. The second one is we talked about social and emotional needs, right? Especially for this age group, they are not emotionally developed. They're very self-centered, right? When they are at home, they are the kid, they're the king or queen of the family. Everybody will listen to their needs and to satisfy their needs. They're very self-centered at this age group. So when they come to school, when they have like peers, when they have to listen to the teachers, they haven't got a system to um, socially and emotionally interacting with the society around them. So we need to support them and help them to develop these skills. And then lastly, it would be the language or sometimes like a cognition gap. They are their language is not ready. They need like more vocab and sentence phrases to support them to communicate their needs or their thoughts. And also they sometimes could be a cognition gap because what they are learning are not aligned with their like brain, not aligned with their cognitive like levels. So that could be another thing as well. So it could be put down into these three like causes of the gaps we usually see in the classroom. So based on these three causes, we are going to find some solutions together. Okay. But whenever there is a gap, yeah, whenever there is gap, we always need to think it as a signal instead of as a failure. Okay. So this kind of mindset will help us, help our teachers to find out the real causes behind these gaps and find the right solutions to help to improve these gaps as well. Okay, so now based on energy misalignment, linguistic gap, and social emotional needs, I will give you some practical solutions. Okay, so let's explore some inclusive management strategies and tools to turn the challenges into opportunities. So the mindset goes on, right? We don't see the gaps as failures, we see them as signals, we see them as opportunities. Yeah, so we can make improvements to bridge these gaps. Okay, again, I'd like to remind teachers who are watching like broadcasting on Facebook or WeChat, you can always share your feedback with us using this QR code on the slide. Yeah, your feedback really matters. And we will share more teaching resources with you once you get registered and sharing your feedback with us as well. So here we go. So when we think about the solutions, when we try to explore some inclusive management strategies, we need to think about this age group. Yeah, really energetic, really cute, really like active, but at the same time, sometimes could be a little bit noisy, a little bit like hard to manage, right? But we need to understand this very young learner like age group, the characteristics of this age group. So here are some common like principles we need to always keep in mind. So this age group, they discover the world first through their bodies when their language is not like ready, when the linguistic level is not there yet, they explore the world, they discover the world with their hands, with their bodies. Yeah, they're developing their physical like fine motor skills, their muscles at the same time as they develop their language skills. So they will jump, they will hop, they will like dance, they will do all the like movements together with whatever they are learning, right? So we need to think about the physical development together with the language development as at the same time. So when we design our content, when we teach this age group, there is always a like a side like a plan to develop their body, their physical aspect as well. And we need to take use of that as well because this will in turn to reinforce the learning of the language at the same time. Okay, so try to use the kids' body, yeah, their hands, their whole body. And the second would be the young learners, they explore the world with curiosity and wonder. I think from the word cloud you have submitted earlier, we see a lot of curiosities, right? We know this age group are naturally curious. They are ready to learn. They are more motivated than the older age group to learn new things. So we need to make sure we are actually making the curiosity into some actual learning as well. We turn the curiosity into learning. And we also should be aware that this age group will not just sit down and learn. They actually learn through play and in social interaction with others. So they are not only learning language using a book, listening to the teacher, they are actually playing while they learning. They are actually always like talking to their peers. They always want to have attention from the teacher, from their peers. So this is part of the learning as well. So we need to create opportunities for them to play while learning. We need to create like interactions while learning as well. So make sure that's the part of your lesson plans as well. And also the stories comes very important times as well. So we all know kids love reading like readers, right? They always want to hear stories from their parents. They always are fascinated about stories. What kind of stories? Yeah. So we need to think about that when we plan our lessons, how the kids construct a meaning from stories. And if we want to teach something about a concept or about a value or about a certain like a topic, we need to maybe put them into stories so that the kids can make sense of the content and construct the meaning and understand and comprehend what they're going to learn. Okay, stories, very powerful. And lastly, the young child develop holistically. So we have mentioned about their bodies, their social emotional skills, the stories, the imagination, the curiosity. Yeah, these are all the parts where kids develop as a whole. So they develop holistically, and that's the way how they are like developing really quickly at the moment at this stage. So when we think about the lesson planning, when we find the right solutions for the gaps, we have to have these in mind. Okay. So now let's have a look at what we have got. So the first thing would be how to address the linguistic gap. So we need to have some age-appropriate themes and topics that the kids can make sense of. Yeah, make like construct a meaning about. We need to match our content, our themes and topics to the level of the students' cognition and their language as well. We need to make sure they can relate, they can find something in their day-to-day life. Yeah, so make sure the topics and the themes are age appropriate. So let me give you some examples and please tell me what theme can you find from these pages. Okay, so these are the pages actually from a course called Mini Makers. It's actually a nursery like course for the very young learners from Macmillan Education. So I have find these examples from the book. And can you tell me what theme and topic can you see from this page? Remember, it's age appropriate. Yeah, it's aligned with the very young learners' cognition and language levels. So as you can see from this page, we have got what kind of topic and themes are there. Yeah, feel free to share your observations in the chat. Environment. So maybe this is a playground park, right? Socialization, sharing. Yes, friends. Yeah, you can see there is a little kid sharing his dinosaur with the other kid, right? Yes. In social interaction, you can see the girls are hands holding hands in hands and saying hi to each other. Yeah, we can also see inclusivity, Mary. Yes, that's right. Because we have different kinds of kids, different like faces, face colors, different like characters of kids. Yes, friends, and we also have caring for the community. Yes, we have this recycle like a bin box there, right? To throw the rubbishes into the recycling, like a trash bin. Yes, very good observation skills, everyone. Yeah, you've noticed even more than I do, okay? Great. So as we can see from Mini Makers, this like module is mainly for the kids to explore topics like making friends, working together. So we teach the kids about how they can play with their friends, how they can share their toys, how they can give gifts to each other, and how they can work together to play games together, to have fun together, yeah, and to have teams. So this kind of topic and the content and the theme is closely related to the kids' day-to-day life. At the same time, we are actually training the kids to have this kind of social and emotional awareness as well. They need to be aware of the social interactions with their peers in the classroom and also with the environment around them as well. So very good, very good. You've made all the points there. Very good. The next page, take a look at this page. What can you see from this page? What the kids are going to learn from this page. It's quite obvious, right? It's about mm, doing a routine. Yes, daily routine. That's right. About the different parts of the day, the timeline. Yeah, the routines we do when it's morning, when it's afternoon, when it's night time, right? So it's following the kids' daily activities, their daily routines to teach them the different parts of the day and what they do in the different parts of the day. Yes. So it's still closely related to the students' day-to-day life, they can relate, right? And at the same time, we teach them routines. So as I mentioned, the routines are very, very important for young learners, right? They need to establish routines and get used to the routines so that they can follow the principles or the rules of the classroom, but also the rules at home as well. So they need to gradually establishing these kind of routines for their life so that they can be a student in the formal school. Yeah, getting ready to be a student. Great. So in this module, we actually teach students about, yeah, morning routines, afternoon, evening, and night routines. At the same time, we teach them the vocabulary about the day, different parts of the day, and about the actions they do, right? How they wake up, how they wear the clothes, how they brush their teeth, having breakfast, and everything. How to go to the bathroom, yeah, how to take a shower or have a nap time. So it's basically everything about what they do, right? So this is something they can easily relate and the intake as a learner. It's very easy for them to learn and make sense. Okay, very good. Next, what about this one? Oh, this is something slightly different, right? So we can see a girl is doing something here in the front, and there are two little kids doing something else outside, right, on the ground. So what about this one? What are they doing? Hobbies? Mm-hmm. Learning by doing, yes. Daily activities. Making. Oh, Josh, you've made the point. It's actually very much related to their hands, what they can do with their hands, with their body. So, creating something, cooking something, actions. Wow, exactly. So, it's more about what they do, what they when they play, what they do, when they eat, what they do, yeah, what they can do with different kinds of their senses. Yes, so the kids learn by doing, right? They explore the world by using their bodies. So this is something we can do with the learning as well. So we in this module we actually teach students the five senses and also how they can do things, how to, yeah, make different kinds of actions. That's right, including cooking, including maybe playing like sense on the playground. Okay, so we teach them different kinds of body parts, especially the five related to the five senses, and we also teach them the five senses as well, how they can see with their eyes, how they can hear with their ears, how they can touch with their hands. Yeah, everything related to the five senses. So this is, yeah, something the kids can relate to and learn really quickly, and also develop their whole body at the same time. And the last module we have in Mini Makers is about, as you can see, this is a very happy classroom, right? Some kids are dancing, some kids are playing games, some kids are having time with the toys. So this could be something related to, take a guess. So we have got these actions, five senses in the last unit, right? And this one comes to the movements we teach. So we can see there are different kinds of actions, movements, and directions. So we teach them different directions, like up, down, left to right. We also show them how they can play different games, like spin around, go around, sit, jump, dance. Yeah, we teach them there, here, like different directions where they can describe, yeah, when they play these games or make these movements. So these are all the ways how we use age-appropriate content and topic and themes to engage young learners, to help them with the linguistic gap. And all these themes and topics are aligned with their cognitive levels and their day-to-day life. Yeah, to make sure they can establish these language from their day-to-day life, to make sure they have the right language to describe their life, to talk about their life, and to share about their feelings. So these four examples from mini makers will give you a quick impression about what we teach. And apart from that, we could also encourage kids to use TPR, which is total physical response, or even sign language using their hands and bodies to support the communication. If you find like a beginner learners, they're not ready to speak English. Their language is not like ready. You don't force them to speak. You just ask them to maybe use some hand gestures, yeah, using some TPR or sign language to express some of the feelings. So here are some examples from mini makers where we actually use the American Sign Language to give the kids the communication tools to express these survival level content. For example, if they want to go to the toilet, they can use the potty like a sign. If they want to drink water, they can use this like a drinking water sign language to communicate their needs. Because considering the age, considering the language level of this age group, if they're not ready to speak English, what can they do? How they are gonna speak or express their ideas? We can start from some body language or sign language or total physical response. Yeah, yeah. You can try to explore some other ways, but this is an example that you can use sign language to support learning, okay, using the bodies. And also we can always encourage multiple ways to participate, not only speaking, right? We can point, we can sign, we can move, we can paint, we can sing and dance instead of speaking. So we encourage kids to do different kinds of activities. Yeah, we encourage them to participate in different ways instead of speaking as a participation. We always allow different kinds of activities to give students opportunities to express themselves, to participate. So when you design your lesson plans, please think about different types of activities of participation. Potty actually means toilet in that context. So it's not like point. So it's a survival language where kids might need in the pre-primary, when they want to go to the toilet, they can use that kind of sign language to give teachers a signal, yeah, about, okay, I want to go to toilet. Yeah, so using a sign as an indication when they don't know how to speak the language. Okay? So it's not about point, it's about going to the toilet. Yeah, it's a very special term. Okay, so as I mentioned here, when we design our lessons, when we design different activities, think about different ways of participation. Yeah, it's not only speaking activities. We always have different kinds of activities to encourage kids to participate. And you can always, yeah, suggest students to use singing and dancing to practice. Yeah, we have got very good animations of songs that they can join and enjoy together. So I will give you a quick example of this one. But I think I need to reshare my screen so that I can share the sound with you as well. I'm not sure why I cannot share my sound, but let me know if you can hear the sound or not. Okay. Can you hear the sound? Okay. I guess it's about the meeting setting. I am not allowed to share my sound when I share my screen, so it's okay. No worries. The idea is we use a lot of TPRs, as you can see here. It's all about the kids can sing and dance using their bodies to join and participate to the lessons. So for young learners and very young learners, remember always have these kinds of songs and dances ready when the classroom energy is not there. Yeah, always give them opportunities to sing and dance to join. And when they are exposed to these songs and animations, they will pick up the language as well, gradually being able to follow and to sing together, and then yeah, comprehend the language. And also, don't forget about the arts and crafts. Yeah. So when kids are developing as a whole, they are always very these arts and crafts will always help them to develop their fine motor skills, these like small muscles on their hands, and also developing their creativity as well, using this like hand painting or these like puzzle games, these like different kinds of pieces of colors, shapes, yeah, using scissors. Yeah. So depending on the age group, you can always prepare different kinds of arts and crafts activities. So these are two examples from mini makers where they can use their hand to uh, paint and also using their hands to ripper like these pieces and make them into puzzles. Very easy to prepare, nothing really complicated, but very engaging and helping the learners to participate as well. Also, don't forget about the stories because kids love stories, right? So using stories to expose students to early natural English will help them to construct meaning. Yeah, they love the storybook style, right? So remember to use storybook style content to attract these kids like attention, and also yeah, introduce these characters, these lovable and relatable characters that they can find themselves or their peers in it, and also yeah, comprehensible and meaningful values can be integrated into the stories to teach the kids the right behaviors to have in the classroom. Okay, so this is about linguistic gap. The next gap would be energy misalignment, right? So we've talked about the energy. We've talked about like sometimes the kids are very noisy. They can't just like stop. They have a lot of extra energy to release before they can sit down and read a story. So let's think about these activities together. We know there is a need to balance these activities, right? So how to balance? We probably can put them into two categories. One is high energy at like level activities, and one is low energy level activities. So take a look at the goals. For high energy levels, what we are trying to achieve here is to helping the students to make output, to use their like body to make some movements, to release their energy, and to sometimes wake up their brain, right? To warm up. And for low energy level activities, what we are trying to achieve is to give the students input. Yeah, asking them to focus, trying to calm down their energy levels, try to like have their mind like brain ready to focus and to consolidate learning as well. So with these in mind, can you do a quick matching activity for me? So can you match all these activities to the energy level? Do you think it's a high energy level or it's a low energy level? Yeah. So try to match them in the chat. So first of all, maybe give me the high energy level activities from these floating like clouds. Which ones are high energy level activities? Musical chairs, for sure. Yes. Do you know how to play musical chairs? It's always fun, right? Where you play a music and ask students to walk around the chairs, and then whenever you stop the music, they need to sit down, find a chair and sit down. And every time you take one chair away, and they need to, yeah, the final one to survive will be the winner. Okay, TPR is a high energy level. Singing, definitely. And anything else? How about role plays? Do you think it's high energy? Yes. Simon says, yes, definitely high energy because they will get really competitive, right? They're making output, they're practicing. Great. Very good. What about low level? Do you think story time is a low energy activity or high energy activity? Story time could be both actually, but if they are listening to a story, like listening to the teacher to tell the story, it could be a low energy level story, right? But if they are telling the story themselves, or if they're doing some activities such as storytelling by themselves, it could be a high energy level. So both, yes. Watching animations could be low energy level because they need to focus, right? So while they're watching, at least it's more of a low energy level. Yep. Reading is definitely low energy level because they need to be quiet and focus. Painting, yeah. Coloring, crafting, yeah. They are usually sitting down on a table and focusing on the activity. So it's more of a low energy level activity. Yes, that's right. Very good. Thank you for sharing. So if we put them into the right place, you will see, yeah, something like that. So the idea is we understand that there are different energy levels for different activities and they serve for different purposes, different objectives. We need to make sure the objectives are aligned with the energy levels. Whenever we want to making the students to make output, to release energy, we look for a high energy level activity. Whenever we are looking for some input to focus, to calm down, we are using a low energy level activity. So yeah, make sure your teaching objectives are aligned with the energy level activities. So that's the idea. And also balance them. We need to have like one high energy, then moving on to a low energy. Yeah, make sure they are balanced and serve for the right purpose of the teaching. And for example, here, I will give you an example here. So if we, before we do an activity like a story or a song, we want to get the students' attention by playing a quick action game. So which means when we are introducing a story or teaching a song to the student, it's more of a low energy activity, right? But we if we want them to calm down and to focus, we need to have a quick maybe energy shift from a quick action game to release their energy, then asking them to come back to transit to a low energy level activity. So a quick action game to release the energy first. Yeah, to at the same time to pre-teach or review some actions. Yeah, about their movements, and also to introduce like different like paces of the action game. So you can go faster, go slower. You can do it in a random order to make sure the energy like is fully released. Yeah, do it quickly, do it slowly, and yeah, going for several rounds and finally, yeah, try to reach a right level of energy before you move on to the story or the song. So this quick action game is actually like brain break, or like a energy releasing game, or a transition game between like two different activities before like a story or a song. So we can always experiment. There is no like right or wrong. The idea is you can experiment with your class, with your students, try to find a balance between a like high level energy level or low energy level, active, passive. Yeah, you can experiment with the switching between the two and see the reactions from your students, see how they react to the switching of different active and passive activities, and looking for the best balance for your classroom, for your students. Okay. And the order of these activities will make a lot of differences. Yeah. And this will keep your children focused and under control. Yeah. And reaching the outcomes as you want. Okay, so this is a quick tip for you to balance different types of activities. And also, apart from the activities, don't forget about the routines. Because if you want to establish a like a well-managed classroom environment in a positive way, if you have found the balance between positive and passive, high energy and low energy level activities, like establishing routines is always the right way to do it. So you can use different routines to manage classroom dynamics. So as I hear, I gave an example. So we can have opening routines for the classroom, right? We can always have warm up like routines. For example, greeting routines, taking the register routines, weather or feelings check routines at the beginning. What else? What kind of other routines have you got? Do you have any certain routines for your young learners' classroom to do certain activities? For example, you will have a game routine in every class if the students are performing well, or if you like prefer to have some extra like input from a story, from a song, from yeah, different types of activities. Have you got singing routines? Yes, singing is always a good way to have routines, and routines can be supported with different kinds of songs as well. Yeah, greeting songs, also sometimes bye-bye songs, right? At the beginning and the end. But also we will have different routines like we can have different activity routines. So story routines, animation routines, or arts and crafts routines. We can have transition routines, which is another very, very important tool that you can have. When you move from one activity to another, for example, when you move from a story to a game, when you move from a crafting, like a arts and crafts activity to a story like activity, you can have a transition there. You can also transition from one part of the classroom to another. So you have different like spaces in the classroom. When you do the activity, when you do the game, you probably use this place. And when you do the table time, when you ask your students to read or to draw, you ask them to go back to the table and then ask them to sit down. So that could be another transition from one place to another. You can also transition from one grouping to another. So you ask them to work in pairs first, and then you ask them to form small groups into five. So you ask them to transition from one pair grouping to a five small group grouping. So that could be another transition as well. We could also have closing routines. Yeah, before we end the class, we have tidying up routines, going to the toilet routines, or some ending lessons routines. Apart from that, if you are trying to managing the levels of the energy, you can also have some settling or energy building routines. So whenever you find the energy level is not right, you want to increase the energy level or lower the energy level, you can either use a settling routine, for example, breathing, deep breathing like routine, meditation routine, or yoga routines. Or if you want the students to raise their energy levels, you can have a dancing time or a getting attention like routine. So there are a lot of different kinds of routines that you can use, and you can put them into your lesson plan. Whenever needed, you can use that routine to establish like a kind of autonomy for the students. So when you do the routine for multiple times, the kids will like have that kind of autonomy. Whenever you do something, they know, okay, it's time to read a story. It's time to take a deep breath. It's time to dance to release my energy. Yeah. So in this way, you don't need to explain the activities every time. I instead the kids will have that kind of autonomy to do the certain routines when it's repeated like enough times. Okay, and I will give you a few examples of the routine songs that you can use. The routine songs are actually quite fun to have. For example, this is a song from, oh no, I can't share my audio with you, so I can't play the songs. But don't worry, we will share these songs with you in the virtual goodie bag we send you later after this webinar. You will receive the certificate, right? So we will share these resources with you in the virtual goodie bag. Okay, so the idea is you can play some songs as a routine. So for example, if you ask the students to move from the circle time to the table time. For example, the students are sitting on the mat for a circle time activity. For example, you are playing musical chairs with them, and then after that, you want them to go to the tables and then doing a reading activity. You can play a song called the transition song. That transition song is actually a song where the students can form a train. So everybody stand up and put their hands on the shoulders of the students in front of them, and they form a train, and they will take this train around the classroom for one or two circles, and then they arrive at the table, and then they will sit down and have fun. Okay, so it's the idea of how transition songs can be used. Okay, and after that, there's another way how you can easily do it for different like energy level spaces. So the different spaces in the classroom that you can differentiate different energy levels, including reading corner, toys and real corner, circle like time zone with a mat, or drawing station with a table, a game zone with a interactive like whiteboard, or you can even have a quiet zone. So the idea is in a small classroom, you can always create different spaces by setting up a mat or creating like putting together the tables using a whiteboard or an interactive whiteboard. So these different spaces are designed for different activities where the students can be trained with different energy levels as well. So even you can have a quiet space if possible, if applicable. But if you don't have this space like for a quiet zone, you can ask the students probably to have a hat or something like that. Whenever they want to have a quiet time, they can put their hat on as a signal that they don't want to speak. They want to be quiet for 5 minutes or something like that. Yeah. And another simple idea for managing different energy levels is to change the seating arrangement. So with different spaces created for different activities, you can always create different seating arrangement to put them into pairs, into face-to-face or puzzle groups or wheels or even panels. Yeah, this will help you manage the energy levels easily as well because in different like seating dynamics, the interaction with their peers will be different. So they can have different ways of energy levels for different activities. Okay, the last one would be the social and emotional needs. So the social and emotional needs will be really, really important that we have considered the kids really need to be trained with certain social and emotional skills when they interact with their classmates in the pre-primary age. So we at Macmillan Education we actually follow this CASEL framework for social and emotional learning. So this is the framework we have integrated into all of our course books from pre-primary to primary all the way to adult. So basically, we want to train the young learners from very beginning to establish an awareness about themselves, about their feelings, about their behaviors, which is the self-awareness. And then they will have the tools and the skills to manage themselves, manage their feelings and behaviors. And then they establish awareness with their social, like peers or teachers or parents, with people around them, and also establish good relationships with others, and then they become a responsible decision maker as an individual. So this like a CASEL SEL framework can be nurtured in the classrooms, in the schools, in the families, in the communities. So we as teachers, we can always integrate this framework into our classrooms when we plan our lessons. Okay, so for example, for this age group, you can always have a feelings check at the beginning as a routine with them. So we have got this feelings check routine every time we start the lesson. You can use this kind of emojis for students to tick. Yeah, if they are not like languagely, their language is not like enough to express, you can use simple like emojis. But if they are gradually making progress, if they are learning how to express feelings gradually, you can ask them, how do you feel? I feel angry, sad, happy, sleepy, scared, or more adjectives to describe their feelings. So this is a very simple routine that you can do every time before the class or at the end of the class, yeah, to check their feelings. And also, you can always make use of the stories to teach different kinds of inclusive behaviors and values. So, stories is the way how kids like construct meanings, right? So we use these stories to integrate values and inclusive behaviors. For example, how they can greet each other, how they can make friends with each other, how they can deal with conflicts, yeah, how they can share, yeah, and how they can play together. So there will be the stories will in mini makers will all based around these like inclusive behaviors they can have to socially and emotionally ready with their relationships at school. So this could be a yeah, this could be a really good opportunities to meet the social and emotional needs in the stories using the stories. And you can always think about how you can integrate values or these inclusive behaviors in the stories if you want to model the right socially and emotionally like ready behaviors, and also create a lot of opportunities to develop cooperation skills and the social like interactions with their peers is another way. So I'll give you two examples from mini makers as well. So as you can see here, they are playing they're working on a small mini project where they use different kinds of like pens or different kinds of bottles, yeah, as drums to play like music instruments. So this is how they can work together with their peers and to have some fun together using this kind of collaborative projects to develop their skills with their peers. And also, this is another example where they are playing the spinner game, where they spin the bottle to do one of these four actions. So they can either do it by themselves or they can work together with their classmates to hold hands in hands and play together. So this is how cooperative or collaborative projects should be designed in the classroom. Yeah, sometimes you can design the activities while thinking about what kind of grouping you're going to have for this activity. You can start from pairs to small groups to whole class. Yeah, the idea is you create a lot of opportunities for the students to interact with their peers. Okay. Yeah. Also think about this kind of look, find, and share activities to guide these young learners to make good decisions. So they look at these pictures, they observe like these two pairs of students. One is sharing, one is fighting with each other. You ask them to find and share their feelings, yeah, to to ask them what would they like to do when they encounter this kind of situation. So yeah, having a lot of social and emotional activities to build their social and emotional skills and intelligence in this way. Okay, so all these examples are from Mini Makers. Yeah, the Mini Makers course for very young learners from Macmillan Education. I will just very quickly wrap up about Mini Makers. So it is based on all these methodologies and approaches to best in like support young learners, social emotional learning, inquiry-based learning, total physical response, and early language building strategies. All these approaches have been put together into a course to support very young learners. So this is the example I can give you. And from this book, you can find some ideas that you can use in your classroom as well. Whether you are using mini makers or not, you can always think about these four different ways and approaches that can work like most effectively with this age group and the thinking about the activities, the balance, and also the energy levels, the social emotional needs, and also the linguistic gap. Yeah, to find that kind of solutions to bridge the gap for the students. So that is from me about the bridging the gaps with the reality gaps between lesson plans with the young learners. So hopefully you have got some ideas about how you can teach the very young learners and bridging the reality gaps with some tools and some skills. Okay, so I know I'm running a little bit out of time, so feel free to ask questions. Yeah, feel free to ask questions a little bit and let me know. Yeah. Hello, Josh.
Hello, I'm back. I've been here the whole time. So thank you so much for the insightful session. And I would like to again invite everyone to share their questions. I will share my screen again just so that we can review what we've talked about today.
Yes.
Here we are. Okay. Okay. So again, I would like to invite everyone to please share your feedback to remind you the information that guides our decisions on what we want to focus on in webinars is drawn from the data we gather in your feedback. So very important for us to know how to respond best to the needs of our teaching community. I'd like to get to some questions. We've had one that came up in the chat, and please, think about any other questions you might have. You can either share them in the main chat or in the Q&A section.
Mm-hmm.
So this first question that we have, it's about, and I'm sure teachers of young learners can relate. There's one student who is quite moody, and they really don't want to do as they're told. So I think, as I'm gathering from the question, a very consistently difficult to deal with the student. Do you have any tips on how to deal with students like this?
Like moody students who don't want to participate.
Yes, yeah, kind of shutting down
Yeah, I think
in here.
the yeah, so it's very common for this age group to get like moody or get into like a very because it's very hard for them to be aware of their own feelings or sometimes to express their feelings, right? So what
Mm.
we see is they are in a mood. They are not willing to participate. So I think the idea is for this age group, we train them to be aware of their feelings. So it's not like the only case because it's like a very common case for the majority of kids, they will have times like this. So in general, like for pre-primary courses, it's very important for students, for teachers to design our lesson plans to think about this part. We can't avoid it, so we need to embrace this part. So what I can suggest is we always have the feelings at a very important like part. Asian students like me, we were not cared about like, our feelings from a very young age. So parents or teachers actually focus on the content only. So feelings are not taken into considerations for a very long time. Like for nowadays, I think it's improving, but
Mm.
I think as we design our lessons, as we progress, I think it's important to make sure you talk about the feelings, ask the students to think about their feelings, and to try to be aware of their feelings and to express their feelings to make it in as a routine. So at the very beginning of the term or the class, you need to create this kind of environment that the kids are willing to share or to talk about their feelings, to acknowledge their feelings, and you also make them feel safe about expressing their feelings. In that way, when a kid is in mood, you can probably give some time for them to think, to come down, of course, to give them some time to be with themselves, and then you can ask them to share when they want to talk about it, to explain like why, and to support them by asking how I can help you with this feeling and how can I support you to feel better. Yeah. So in this way, I think in generally we could probably improve this kind of like challenges. So that would be my suggestion. But I know there will always be time like restrictions. There will always be reality gaps. But if we want to support kids with their emotions, I think that's maybe a fundamental way for us to do. Yeah.
So, to the asker of that question, Mr. Wumingyatan, I hope that addressed it to your satisfaction. That also makes me think of some other questions that relate. I'm reminded of those old cartoons. Maybe you've seen them, like Looney Tunes, when a character is at an impasse or a moral conflict. They have a little devil on one shoulder and a little angel on the other. And we can call the little
Mm.
devil the instinctual response. So telling students, sit down, focus. Obviously, that's not the direction we want to go. But what advice can you give to teachers to almost like quell or address that instinctual response and cultivate a more positive, emotionally supportive response, particularly for nursery level and young learners?
I think using maybe some of the characters the kids like, using some like puppets or using some kids friendly like prompts or creating maybe a space where you have these prompts ready for kids to comfort themselves. I think in this way it's like easier to find maybe comfort like feelings for the kids. Yeah.
Mm.
So yeah, I think yeah, it's not like easy to do rational conversations with them when it's like the case. It's the idea is still to give the students the safe environment, comfortable like
Mm.
space for them to yeah stay comfortable. That would
Yeah.
be yeah.
And one more question from me. Again, I invite anyone, if you are still, questions are still percolating, please add them into the chat and we will address them. But one more question from me. I was reflecting on this in the responses early on. Many of the teachers, and to speak from my own experience, the bulk of my experience has not been with the very young learners. But I think that there are many lessons that even teachers of older learners can take from this lecture and from these sorts of teaching techniques that you explore in mini makers. So
Mhm.
I was just thinking if there's one technique or idea that a teacher of older learners, even teenagers, might take away from today, what would you say that would be?
I think it's the balance of low energy level activities and high energy level activities because
Mm.
even if the kids are getting older, their attention span gets longer, their focusing like time will be better, but still we can't ask the students to sit down and do the activities all the time, right? We want them to have engagement, involvement, and having input, output at the same time. So when we think about our lesson plans, we can think about the different kinds of activities we design, we think about the different balance of energies the teachers can have so that the engagement and motivation level will be improved as well. So even for older learners, we can think about how to balance these kinds of activities in terms of energy levels. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think especially like sometimes a pitfall that teachers have is when they work with the older learners, they kind of abandon that social emotional aspect of it. And they say, "Oh, well, they're mature. They can handle like very low energy activities to fill the whole class." So yeah, thank you. I'm going to continue on. Now, mini makers was described extensively today, but just want to bring it up again as new courseware that we're very excited about. Turns your nursery classroom into a vibrant space where students can explore with their whole bodies, and it really caters to the kinesthetic way that young learners learn. And also, we have that to segue into different paths. So they can continue on to our kindergarten courseware with early explorers, where we go from making to investigating, using those skills to explore the world around them. And then also another path that they could go down. If you've ever worked with Bebop and Friends, you know that Bebop and Friends are actually a band. They play music together. So really exploring that TPR and musicality angle. Anyone who's worked with very shy young learners knows that to reduce that affective filter, songs and choral responses are a great strategy to rely on. So just wanted to highlight our new courseware, Meme Makers. Bebop and Friends is not as new, but we connect it to keep going down that path with students. To recap a little bit more, there we are in the chat sharing about mini makers. Perfect. Just focusing in on one aspect of mini makers that we talked about today. I think I'll pick, I can't do all five, but naturally inclusive communication actually is one that really struck me when we talked about the ASL, the American Sign Language.
Yeah.
Because of course, sign language is inherently inclusive, but it also serves the dual purpose of meeting our students where they are at as far as their emotional needs. So if they're more kinesthetic, they don't want to speak as much, it gives them that opportunity, that avenue to communicate. So I think that's a really key thing to remember. And I'll segue to my little plug in a moment, but in my webinar on Wednesday in Share with Friends, we will talk a lot about meeting students where they're at through the context of differentiated instruction. So to share one more time with everyone, as Super has said many times throughout today, and I've repeated, our webinars are informed by the feedback that you, the teachers, share with us. So both, of course, we want to know how our trainings are received and how our professional development is received, but we want to know what direction to go in. It's a very adaptive process for us, and we want to respond to your concerns and your needs. So please share your feedback and make sure that you share anything that you would like to see in future webinars. Very important to us. Thank you for sharing the link there. So,
Yes, please.
and now I get to do a little bit of self-promotion. I've been plugging this in workshops recently on my LinkedIn, but I will be having a webinar, and Super and I will switch roles. She'll introduce me on Wednesday at the same time. Mine will be from reality to routine, so you can see the connection there, reality. Managing mixed ability classes with confidence. I'll put in a little spoiler here. Every class is a mixed ability class. So if you think this isn't for you, it's actually for everyone. But if you have struggled with classes with some students who need a lot of support and some students who are fast finishers, I really hope that we share some insights on Wednesday that will really resonate with you and that you'll find useful in your classes. One more reminder as well to please follow us on our social medias. We have the Facebook WeChat and RedNote links here. I'll leave them up for a moment in case you missed them earlier. And also, if you search Macmillan Education Asia, they will come up on LinkedIn as well. You can follow us there. And
Yes, and Josh will focus on pre-primary and like teenagers. So teachers who's teaching slightly older students, yeah, stay tuned.
yes,
Come back on Wednesday.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So if you felt like today could have aligned a little bit more just by what you teach, we'll be focusing on slightly older learners in the next lesson and focusing in specifically on how we can meet all of our learners where they're at and make one lesson work for many learners at the same time. So I invite you to please join us on Wednesday. And I am so grateful to you joining us tonight, devoting your time and attention and your great questions and participation in the chat. I really hope that those energy levels carry on to Wednesday. But I know that's on me as a presenter. So thank you so much, Super. That was
Thank
delightful.
you.
And yeah.
Yes. So look forward to the next session. See you.
Yeah, thank you so much, everybody. And we will hopefully see you on Wednesday. Have a great evening wherever you are. And if you're in a very hot place, I hope that it gives us some relief from the heat soon.
Right. So bye.
Goodbye, everyone. Take care.